All right, diving back into the SB5 thing, going down some of the other interesting things, and then I want to share with you an opinion piece that was in the Inquirer. Give you a couple more things on Senate Bill 5. Removes health care from bargaining and instead permits school boards to govern health care benefits for employees. I don't understand why that's trouble. Requires employees to pay at least 20% of their health care costs. Allows public employers to hire permanent replacement workers during a strike. Limits bargaining for local government employees, including school districts, to issue wages, hours, terms of conditions of employment. Abolishes school employee health boards. Eliminates binding arbitration for police and fire. Prohibits school districts from picking up any portion of the employee's contribution to the pension system. I think you ought to pay for your own pension. I don't know why public employees have a separate one. It should be, so if I have to get screwed by Social Security, then you do. I don't think any of us should be forced into putting anything into retirement, and I don't think the government or an employer should match it. If they want to, if an employer wants to match it, fine. If they want to put something in, fine, and you negotiate that, so be it. But we ought to plan on our own for our retirement. Prohibits school districts allowing a public employer in a fiscal emergency to serve notice to terminate, modify, or negotiate the contract. Some of the things that SB5 does. There are some questions I have about it. I think all in all, though, there's some good things as well. The real strategy, according to Rich, who checked in behind SB5, is that it gets the unions out of the way of programs like school choice and other reforms that can be given to school boards to be implemented. Now, he's right about that. Getting the unions out of the schools' policy making, which they do as part of their bargaining, and allows for things like school choice, allows local school districts to make choices, and allow parents to make choices where they send their kids. The opinion piece in the Inquirer today, I want to share a couple pieces. Written by a teacher named Tammy. She said, Ohio Senate Bill 5 has brought something to my attention that both surprises me and saddens me. She writes, it's probably not what you might assume. Yes, the potential to lose up to $20,000 of my salary is enough to make me sad. What's more, losing benefits is never good to hear. But what surprises me and saddens me most about Senate Bill 5 is the response against teachers it is revealed. What response? She said every article or debate discussing either side of the issue soon becomes flooded with vitriolic comments that paint teachers as lazy elitists who seem to only care about their tenure and summer vacations. There's the problem. She laid it out. No, it's not that every article, in fact, very few articles paint teachers that way. But she thinks they do. It's the hypersensitivity of the teachers in this case. People aren't questioning teachers. I have a recent study that shows teachers are rated one of the highest professions as far as what people, their public opinion, how people respect them, of any in America. One of the highest. People don't hate teachers. What they hate is all the other stuff, including the union protecting some bad teachers, which have to do with things like tenure. But in her mind, it's all about attacking the teachers. It's not about attacking the teachers, the firefighters, or the cops. It's about spending. And it's about doing the right thing and putting everybody on the same level as far as retirements and everything else. Having the same retirement plan. If I have to get screwed by Social Security, you should as well. She said, in my 28 years since I became a teacher, I cannot think of one teacher who went into the field to make money. We all knew that was not an incentive. Interesting, though. The first things in her article, in her letter, was about the money. She mentioned losing potentially $20,000 of salary, benefits. The truth is, Senate Bill 5, it is potential for you to lose $20,000. there's just as much potential for you to earn an extra $20,000. That's what potential means. But she says there's potential to lose in order to gin up sympathy and support for the teachers. Merit-based pay means if you're doing well, you may make even more. But even though she said teachers don't go into it for the money, that was the first thing out. So would you be willing as a teacher then, if it's not about money and wages and salary, would you be willing to give up collective bargaining on all of those things and just go to merit based on those things? If it's not about the money, then why wouldn't you go along with that? Truth is, it is about the money. It's about the money for all of us. Me too. She said, true, the state of education is in a state of chaos. You don't have to point that out to any teacher. We're at the front line of this battle. True, I think you are. She said, but assuming this dire state is because teachers aren't doing their job is like assuming the ongoing war in Iraq is due to the soldiers overseas not doing their jobs. Did she really just compare teachers to soldiers who are putting their lives on the line every day? Really? Teachers and soldiers are the same? I don't know. Is that what she meant? I'll assume for a minute she didn't mean that. But assuming that the ongoing war in Iraq is because the soldiers aren't doing their job, so she takes no responsibility for teachers? The dire state of education has nothing to do with teachers? It's just administration and policies? It's everybody else? See, that's part of the problem. She really believes, and many teachers I'm sure also feel, that they are being scapegoated or something or targeted unfairly. You really don't understand the criticism of education, and you really don't understand your contribution? You're not solely responsible for this, but as teachers, you are part of it. Parents are also part of it. Administrators are also part of it. Our federal government's desire to hand down mandates about education at the federal level, all part of it. But you really don't understand the criticism, because that's what it is, constructive criticism, quite often, most of the time. You think you're being vilified? You think you're being persecuted as a teacher? Let me help you understand from the perspective of the average parent. We know that we pay gobs of money for public education. And while we send our kids to public schools and spend this gobs of money, which continues to go up year after year, and we work real hard every day to try to provide a post-secondary education for our kids, we see quite often people in our neighborhood not working, living also off of our dollars. Their kids still go to the same public schools, and we pay for them to go to schools because their parents aren't paying taxes quite often. And the taxes continue to go up for public schools. And then we see the lack of success. We see graduation rates quite often going down and definitely not going up as a whole, test scores not going up, and America falling behind the entire world when it comes to math and science and other things as well. Then we see nutty policies out of our public schools like zero tolerance. And although teachers don't make those nutty policies, they certainly in many cases support those nutty policies. They support them by going crazy when a kid draws a gun. We see the agenda that is pushed by many teachers, not just administrators. These are the things we see out of our public schools. We see how they have changed over the years since we were in school, and not for the better. And you may think you're being vilified, you may think you're being persecuted as a teacher, but we are laying out the dire state of education, that there isn't enough money to continue on the path we are, and it was a bad path to begin with because it hasn't been successful for us. We don't like the agenda that's being taught in the public schools, and you are, whether you like it or not, part of that situation. As teachers, you are a part of it. And we're simply looking for a better way. But you see it as you being vilified or persecuted. More of your calls coming up. 700 WLW. Coming up today at 12:33, Sheriff Richard Jones joins Willie. He's going to talk about Senate Bill 5, give you a different perspective on it right there. Get to Larry on a cell phone. You're on the big one.
How are you, Doc?
I'm doing well, sir.
Good. Yeah, my opinion is that maybe somehow that the wages of public employees should be based on, say, like a percentage of how well the state is doing in a given year. So, I mean, you can't just take away collective bargaining rights, because once they lower the wage because the state is having a bad year, then how in the world will teachers ever get raises again? Does that make sense?
Give that to me one more time. Make sure I understand it. Larry.
Yes.
Larry, listen to the phone. Don't listen to your radio. Give that to me one more time.
Okay, the reason we're having these problems now is because the state is losing money, just like a business would lose money. So you have, and the main expense of any company in the state is employees. So I don't know why, like, fire departments or policemen would be exempt also, but you take a certain percentage, say, like 80% of, say, the state's revenue would be allocated to the public employees. So in a down year, the employees certainly would get cut, but that percentage would stay the same. In a good year, they maybe get bonuses.
All right. What do you are you a public union? Are you in a public union?
No, I'm not.
You work in the private sector.
I just believe that.
And how do you get raises or paid?
Well, I just work. It's what I get is what I earn.
So basically, your boss comes in and says, I have so much money to hire people, and I, as the administrator or the executive here, have to make decisions based on the amount of work we want to get done and the amount of income we have. That's what your boss does, I'm assuming, because that's what most good bosses do. Sometimes they have to make decisions about future growth and borrowing some money. Sometimes they have to decide if they want to put their funds over here in order to grow a little bit faster in one area or another. All of these things are how businesses is run. Why do we think it would be so difficult to run governments that way? How much money do we have? Here's what we can pay. That difficult? I guess it is for some. Brian in Northern Kentucky.
Yes, hey Doc, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir.
Well, I'm a listener, and I do enjoy your show. I do respect your opinion, but I have to disagree about what's going on right now. I mean, I just feel like since the economy's bad, some of the things they, bargain and everything, it's just redundant, but I don't think you should undermine the union. I've always believed the union it's always been a good thing for the people. So I disagree. I believe everyone's looking for somebody to blame because of the economic situation going on, and I believe the teachers are getting the forefront of it.
What, you really think the teachers are being attacked here?
I kind of do. I'm not a teacher. I'm in the military, but I watch these situations. I've been watching this. I know as well as everyone else. We've been hearing it on the news for the past since 2008, since this all began, and it's always some new group getting the finger pointing at. And I'm sick of it.
It's all of us. That's the point. That's what is so frustrating about this. For this teacher to write this article in the Inquirer, and even for you to say that you think people are, going after groups. It's not. It's all of us. And the frustrating thing from those of us that don't work in the public sector, is that we're tired of hearing how suddenly people are questioning you. I question everything, Brian. I question all of it. I question what the supervisors are making in all of these public areas. I question what the government spends across the board.
See, I do.
And I'm not saying the teachers are getting rich by any means.
Yes, sir. I agree with you in a sense. Like, I understand what you're saying. I just wish this would all stop. I wish everything would get fixed. You know, that's just what it is.
Right,
I guess I'm frustrated.
No, and I am frustrated too. That's part of the problem here. We're also frustrated by this stuff. But I'm one of the ones that is being consistent when I say, let's look at it all. Let's look at everything. I don't want any sacred cows here. And unfortunately, that's what I hear from most people. You talk about school superintendents. The school superintendents then come out and say, what are you attacking us for? We're just out here making a blah, blah. You mention the teachers. What are you attacking us for? You talk about corruption on Wall Street. What are you attacking us for? Any of these things, those people then, why are you attacking me? I'm being honest. There's trouble across the board. It just so happens right now we're focusing on public employees because that's a real part of the problem, and that's one of the things that's being legislated. There's legislation here, Wisconsin, and other places. But I'm tired of the sacred cows. You hear me give it across the board. I blasted the president for his spending the first hour, John Boehner for backing a ridiculous plan, across the board. But everybody, and if this whole thing, you know what? If S.B.5 is horrible and people market it and they start marching and they create videos and commercials, and next year they put it on, or at the end of the year they put it on the ballot and there's a referendum and the thing gets tossed aside, I will know that at least for the parts that of S.B.5 that I supported, my conscience is clean. And if it gets repealed, if we go back to the same old system and we end up on the same path, are we any worse than we are right now? No, we're not any worse. And eventually, 2 years down the road, or 4 years, or 10 years, whatever it takes, when the bottom completely falls out, we will revisit this. And I can say with a clean conscience then, I tried to do it. I supported it in March of 2011. I knew it wasn't perfect. There were parts of it I didn't like. I'd like to see changed. But I'm the one that was being consistent. I tried to tell you how it was failing. But it's all sacred cows. Oh, and you can't even laugh, by the way. Don't even try to laugh. I made a joke last hour trying to prove a point. Little satire. A little bit of fun with the sports fan union. And of course, people, how dare you make fun of the unions? You can't laugh at yourself. I can laugh at myself. But it's sacred cows. Can you laugh at yourself? You really think you can? Let's see if you can laugh at yourself.
I had to get a job. You don't want to work.
What are you doing?
I got a job in a bakery.
Good. What are you doing there?
Loafing.
That's...
Oh, boy.
What are you doing?
Loafing.
Where?
In a bakery.
You working?
Certainly.
Doing what?
Loafing.
Well, that's what I was doing here. I was just taking it easy. I was loafing.
No. That kind of loafing. You're just a lazy idiot. Not this here kind here.
I was taking it easy, same as you.
I work when I loaf.
How can you work and loaf at the same time?
Why not?
Can you do that?
That's what they pay me for.
They pay you for what?
To loaf.
How do they pay you for loafing? You're in a bakery store, you gotta do
I'm
something.
in a baker, so I'm loafing there.
You just go to work in a bakery store and you don't do a thing. And
Oh,
they pay
yes,
you for it?
oh, yes.
How much they pay in a bakery store for loafing?
$1.50 an hour.
For loafing?
The union man. I belong to the union.
I'm loafing here and getting a nickel for it.
Well, you're not supposed to get any money for that kind of loafing.
Well, can I loaf there, would you?
I should say not. You've got to join the union.
I gotta join a union of loafers?
You can't loaf without belonging to the union.
Well, what do you think of that? Well, you mean I gotta join a union in order to loaf?
Well, certainly.
Don't say nothing, but I was loafing here without the union.
No, you aren't loafing here. You can't loaf here. You can't loaf here. You got no dough.
I got no dough. That's why I'm loafing, because I got no dough.
Oh, no. If you had dough, you could loaf. But then you'd have to get a card and join the union.
You gotta have dough to loaf.
Oh, sure. How can you loaf without dough?
That's very hard. I've been trying to. You can't do it then.
You can't do anything.
I can't retire right now. I gotta have a job.
Someday come down to the bakery. I'll show you how to loaf. I do real loafing. In fact, I never told you this. My whole family were loafers.
No kidding.
Sure. My father was a bigger loafer than me.
He was?
Yeah, he was one of the best loafers in the family.
I think you're a better loafer than your father.
Oh, I know that now, because he taught me how to loaf. You know you're a bigger loafer than your father. Right?
Oh, sure.
You're a bigger loafer than me, too, ain't you?
Well, you're no loafer.
I'm not.
No, certainly not.
You are.
You're just a lazy, no good for nothing, whatever you
How
call
can I be lazy? You just told me I'm no loafer. You're a loafer, not me.
But I get paid for loafing. You don't.
That's what I don't understand. Working in a bakery store, I'm getting paid $1.50 an hour for loafing.
That's right.
This, I don't understand that.
You don't understand? What is there to understand?
I don't understand you working and loafing and getting paid for it.
Wait a minute.
Can I get a job there doing the same? No, I can't get a job there.
Got to belong to the union.
All you do is talk, and that's all I hear. You don't say nothing, loafing.
I don't say anything.
No.
Look, you go to the union. You get a card. You go to the bakery. They give you dough. You need the dough first.
I need the dough, and how I need the dough? We need dough to get something nice.
I need the dough in order to loaf.
I need the dough in order to loaf. Give me some dough, and I'll get something to eat in the joint.
Can't get any dough. You
Poor
can't.
Bingo, I don't know what I'm going to do to him. He's going to look for other parents.
Bingo.
Believe me.
Wait a minute.
I want to ask you just one thing.
What?
What makes a balloon go up?
Hot air.
What's holding you down?
Bud Abbott joining the Loafers Union. You want to hear that again? I'll put a link to it at my blog, 700WLW.com. Brought to you by Doc Thompson at 700 WLW. Tom, you from New Jersey?
Yeah.
You're in New Jersey now?
No, I'm in Cincinnati for a wedding.
Oh, how are you, sir?
Good. And yourself?
I'm doing well.
Actually, the reason I was calling, I'm a police officer in New Jersey, and we're kind of going through the same thing. But our biggest problem is the federal government has given cities money to go out and hire cops and firemen, okay? Which
Right.
isn't a bad thing. The problem is after 4 years, the cities have to promise that they're going to hire these guys for 2 and pay them.
But not from the federal government money.
No, with their own money. The problem is they don't have it. So then they have to lay them all off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here comes the clinker. Now, where I am is we went from 450 officers down to 300 in 60 days. And a lot of this I lay at the union. And even though I'm part of the union, I'm going to say this is because they get it in their mindset that screw the government, screw everybody, we got our money, and we don't care what happens to anybody else. We're not going to do anything. All the city asks us to do is forego 2-year rate, two raises a year, which would have been like 4% over 2 years. They didn't ask to give up anything else. No longevity raise, nothing. And our union is so stupid, they said, no. We'll go ahead and lay everybody off. We don't care.
You have a lot more difficult in New Jersey, though. You really do.
Oh, yeah. And then 2 days later, after the layoff notices go out, I get a letter from our pension plan saying that, the pension plan's only underfunded by about $4 billion. Well, no kidding. They're laying people off who pay into the pension plan. So what does that do to your pension plan? That just increases your deficit. Yeah, so a lot of this, I don't care who you are and what union you belong to, the unions have to give up a lot more than they've been giving up. And I know that sounds strange coming from somebody that's in the union.
No, I think that's honest. And Tom, that's what I'm looking for on all sides. I don't expect union members to come out and blast everything about the union, but I rarely hear them talk about things honestly because they've been trained and they kind of have to protect the union overall. I understand that, but I'm looking for people to be a little more honest even when it affects them. It's what I really try to do. Whether I hit the mark or not is a different scenario. I appreciate you calling. Enjoy your time in the tri-state. Have fun at the wedding. It's Doc Thompson, home of the Reds, 700 WLW.
Let's go.